This is about Dr. Robert Malone being canceled from Twitter. But I want you to know that the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology is not fit to join in the debate about vaccines or COVID. But these guys are. This is the head of the NIH. Now, this guy's, I'm going to say, very good chance he's a criminal, if not 100%. This is from the Wall Street effing Journal. Imagine how corrupt these guys are for the Wall Street to be pissed at them enough to write a fucking article that's critical of them after they just made all that money. So how Fauci and Collins shut down COVID debate. They work with the media to trash the Great Barrington Declaration. So that's what him and Fauci did. This is the head of the NIH. Other scientists had different ideas about how to treat COVID, like how to do a targeted lockdown instead of a general lockdown, how to do targeted vaccines instead of general vaccines, how to do, lots of different ideas. And you're supposed to have a robust scientific debate. They shut it down and pushed their agenda and smeared anybody who went against them. And what are they doing now? They just got rid of the guy who invented the mRNA vaccine technology. He just got bumped off of Twitter. Are you happy? He goes on Joe Rogan, and immediately Twitter jumps into action. We got to squelch this guy. And they do.
Well, by the way, I can't believe Jack Dorsey was the guy protecting free speech.
Yeah, that was the guy protecting free speech.
Holy Christ.
Twitter on Wednesday suspended the account operated by Dr. Robert Malone, a U.S.-based virologist and immunologist. So he's being smeared. So that guy's being smeared. He's being smeared by Twitter right now. He's being smeared by The Atlantic. He's being smeared by Wikipedia, just like we are. Anybody who goes against the CIA or the establishment is going to get a bad entry in Wikipedia.
What did I do to the CIA to get my Wikipedia screwed up? They won't let me fix it either.
They won't let you fix it.
No. It's like fake birthdays and stuff in there. I don't know why.
So the ban came just hours after the AP, the Associated Press, posted out. Watch this fact check, Kurt. I don't know if you saw this story yet, but the ban came just hours after the AP posted a controversial fact check report claiming that Dr. Robert Malone misled people by claiming the vaccines are failing against the Omicron variant. Recent figures from Denmark and Germany refute the AP's fact checkers' claim. This is from the Rio Times. That's what they say. So they say, so we've been fact-checked on this show by, I think it was PolitiFact, and then you find out who funds them, and they're getting money from people who have an interest in all this COVID-related stuff. And then you find out that their fact checks aren't even fact checks. They're opinion checks. I never had a fact wrong ever. They just didn't like what I was implying. Well, that's not a fact check. And guess what? That's not a fact check either. Watch what they do. Here it is. AP claims mislead about COVID-19 vaccines' effectiveness against Omicron. Really? How did they mislead? Well, here's what they say. A video clip circulating on social media shows Dr. Robert Malone, a frequent critic of the COVID-19 vaccines, who has researched mRNA vaccine technology. He's researched it. He's the inventor of it. This is their fact check. They can't even get their fact. In their fact check, they're wrong on the facts. Of course they are. Of course they are. So they can't even get their facts right. Who has researched, I don't know how many patents. He's got like 9 patents on vaccine technology, stating that the shots don't. So Robert Malone stated that the shots don't protect people from Omicron. The comments were made during a December 17 interview with Laura Ingraham, a Fox News host, on her show, The Ingraham Angle. So I don't know if it protects you from Omicron or not. The early data, well, this is what Andy Slavitt said about Delta and the vaccines. Who was Andy Slavitt? He was Joe Biden's director of COVID response. And what did he say? This is before Omicron, which is way more contagious than Delta. He said, given Delta's contagiousness and the fitness of the future mutations in order to beat it, this means SARS-CoV-2 will be contagious enough that everyone will get the virus. That was before Omicron. That was when we just had Delta, and Joe Biden's director of COVID response was saying he's saying this, is that this means SARS-CoV-2 will be contagious enough that everyone will. That's what he's saying. That's not what this show. I'm saying that's what Joe Biden's COVID director said. So if it was already everybody was going to get it then, now, and the vaccines weren't going to stop you from getting Delta, according to Joe Biden's COVID director. That's what he said. So then that would seem logical that Omicron, which is even more contagious than Delta. So I'm just saying it seems logical. And this is what Dr. Malone went on to say. Omicron blows right through the vaccines and through the triple jabbed, Malone said. Omicron is very, very infectious, and the data are already in that both the double and triple vaccination is not protecting you from Omicron. So AP's assessment, this is their assessment on their fact check, missing context, it says. While it's true that people who are vaccinated can still get infected with Omicron, they say he should have provided more context. So not that what he said wasn't true. They're not checking his fact. They're saying we would have liked him to give more information. Not that his fact was incorrect or that's not what this says. That's not what that says. That says that his statement was missing context. And you can say that about any statement. You can say that about any statement. I wish there was more context. They should add more. That's what they've tried to do to us at Facebook with PolitiFact, which is, again, funded by the people who have an interest in making us look fact. So that's what they said. Oh, they said my headline implied something. Not that it was factually incorrect, but they didn't like what it was implied. They didn't like what I was thinking in my head. That's what this is. That's what this fact check is. Doesn't seem like they're checking his facts. It seems like they want him to say something else. That's what this seems like. While it's true that people who are vaccinated can still get infected with Omicron, I like how they put it, they can still get it. Early research has shown that the Pfizer and Moderna mRNA COVID-19 vaccines are effective at preventing severe disease, hospitalization, and death stemming from the new variant. Well, I got to tell you, there's no deaths from the new variant. And it's presenting as a very mild form of the disease. So just that I would like them to add that context. Why don't they add that context? This is a false statement from AP using their standard because I would like them to add more context. And they didn't. So do you see what kind of bullshit this is? They're not doing a fact check. They're doing a context check.
That doesn't even, the whole thing is, can you still get it? That's the simple question being asked that he answered.
But
I don't even understand what the fuck this has to do with that.
So I know. So what the AP is implying is that Robert Malone is also saying that the vaccine doesn't protect you from serious disease or hospitalization. That's what they're saying. He's like, oh, he should have said that it does do that. He should have went that extra step and said, while it does, they're saying he didn't say that enough. That's what they're saying. But guess what?
Yeah.
But guess what, Kurt?
What?
Omicron boosts COVID-19 surges in Denmark and the UK. So here is 2 European countries, Denmark and the United Kingdom, reported new daily highs for COVID-19 cases, partly fueled by the more transmissible Omicron variant. Denmark, one of the countries reporting brisk Omicron spread, reported 9,999 new COVID-19 cases in the past day, according to Reuters. Government officials are scheduled to meet with Parliament tomorrow to discuss options for curbing the outbreak. Charles Lebeck, MD, DMC, with Denmark's State and Serum Institute, told CNBC that Omicron cases are doubling every 2 days, a pace poised to overtake the Delta variant within a week. He said Omicron cases currently make up 10% of sequence cases. Of the country's Omicron patients, 75% were fully vaccinated. Does it sound like Dr. Robert Malone was misleading people? I'm not saying what, I'm saying you decide, because this is the data from Denmark. 75% of the people who were Omicron patients were vaccinated, and 9% had received a booster shot. About 80% of the Danish population is fully vaccinated. Lillebeck said Denmark's Omicron trends appear similar to patterns reported from Britain. During the 3-hour and 6-minute interview on the now viral episode, number 1757 of the Joe Rogan Experience, Malone claimed to be part of the team that invented the mRNA vaccine used in COVID-19 vaccines. You can check if that's true or not. You can check. I did. It's true. Malone is an internationally recognized vaccine researcher who has authorized dozens of scientific papers and been cited thousands of times. Thousands of times. His work has been cited. His work has been described as seminal in the field of mRNA vaccine development. Hey, Suri, what's the definition of seminal?
Seminal means of a work, event, moment, or figure, strongly influencing later developments. Do you want to hear the remaining?
No, I got it. So he was the pioneer of the mRNA vaccine technology, which is why they use the word seminal, but they could easily use the word inventor of.
These kids came out of my nuts, as Tracy Morgan would
That's
say.
right. Although Malone supports vaccines as a medical doctor, supports vaccines, he's worked on vaccines his entire effing life. He's working on a new vaccine right now.
He's not an anti-vaccine guy. He's a maker of new vaccines. He's a guy.
His whole life is vaccines. In fact, he's done the seminal work on the mRNA vaccine technology. But you see how they have to put it, although he's not against them. Against them? Although he's developed
still
most
bad.
of the...
That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Although he's not against him, he's still kind of
bad.
Yeah.
He believes that steps the United States government has taken to bring the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines to market from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna have been detrimental and contrary to globally accepted standards for developing and regulating safe and effective licensed products.
Oh, a cynic.
He has a different point of view. The guy who's done the seminal work for mRNA vaccine technology, but we're going to ban him from the conversation. Because the guy at Twitter knows more about vaccines than the guy who invented it?
The guy who invented it.
Or the guy at Twitter is making an economic calculation. That's not a science calculation the guy at Twitter is making. The guy at Twitter is making a monetary economic decision to censor and stifle scientific debate. Science doesn't work through censorship. In a post on Substack Wednesday, he, meaning Dr. Malone, wrote that his Twitter account had over 500,000 followers when it was permanently suspended. Over 500,000 followers gone in a blink of an eye. That means I must have been on the mark. That's exactly right. You're over the target if you're catching flack. They don't ban people who don't have an influence, who aren't saying things that are threatening. That means I must have been on the mark, over the target. Why don't they take National Enquirer out of the Ralphs? How come that's still in there? Isn't that weird? Dr. Malone, the inventor of the mRNA vaccine technology, can't be on Twitter, but National Enquirer still is at the shelves at Ralph's. The World Weekly News is and what was that joke?
Oh, remember that?
I want to be a headline writer. Can you imagine being a headline writer for the World Weekly News? Hey, how do you spell helium monster? Whose joke was that? That's somebody's joke. That means I must have been on the mark, over the target. It also means we lost a critical component in our fight to stop these vaccines being mandated for children and to stop the corruption in our governments, as well as the medical industrial complex and pharmaceutical industries. That's what Malone wrote. That's what he said. A Twitter spokesperson said Malone's account was permanently suspended for repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation policy. I wonder why they don't spell out exactly what it was that he did. Isn't it interesting? They won't spell out exactly what he did.
And I, for one, think it's great that they don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
You don't have any habeas corpus anywhere for anything, ever.
Twitter has strict rules prohibiting users from spreading what they call false or misleading information about COVID-19 or the vaccines developed by Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. They get to decide what is appropriate for a debate. Who? Some jagoffs at a fucking social media company. They get to decide what's okay to talk about and what's not okay. Feel happy? And the reason why this is also, like, I've seen people say, well, it's a private company, and if you violate their terms of service, I have no problem with them saying you violated their terms of service or a private company. Okay, would you allow them to take a telephone away from somebody if they said something on the telephone you didn't like? Could AT&T take someone's telephone away? Because you can't run a business, just like you couldn't run a business without a telephone 40 years ago. You can't run a business without social media, meaning you can't be a public, because I'm a business and public people are a business. So you can't be in public life, just like you couldn't have a job 40 years ago without having a telephone. You can't have a job without having a social media now. And so now you're saying, yeah, I'm okay with that. They should be able to take the KKK's telephone away because I don't like what they're saying. Or this right-wing, or whatever, this political group. So that's what you're literally saying, because now either you believe that social medias are monopolies and they should be considered utilities, public utilities, which we all think they should. And if you don't think they should, you're an extremist on the right. So if you think it's okay for them to ban people, you're an extremist on the right. Well, I wouldn't even say, because most of the people I know on the right are against this kind of censorship. So I would call it, you're a right-wing authoritarian. I keep saying right-wing. But it's weird because the people I know on the right-wing are against this kind of censorship. So you're just an authoritarian. You're a boutique fascist. So, de facto, however, Twitter practices nothing other than brute censorship because the platform forbids users to write posts claiming, for example, that vaccines are dangerous or that governments or the medical industry have covered up undesirable side effects. In both cases, this is by no means misinformation, but simply uncomfortable truths. So how do you say? Let's say I found out that the head of the CDC was lying. Would I be able to say that on Twitter? Or I'm going to get censored, right? What if I found out that there was some malfeasance happening in the trials? Would I be able to say that on a social media? Would I be censored and not the people who were doing the malfeasance? They've already had whistleblowers that said Pfizer had, what was that? They had great irregularities in their testing. Should you not be allowed to say that? Here's the Daily Mail. YouTube and Twitter delete Joe Rogan interview with scientists who helped invent mRNA vaccines. Dr. Robert Malone claimed U.S. is now like a Nazi Germany, with society hypnotized to believe in vaccines and extreme pandemic measures.
Well, they really mischaracterized that to make him sound.
Yes,
I mean, that's really.
I know, right?
Wow.
YouTube has removed Joe Rogan's interview with the scientists who helped invent the mRNA vaccines, who claim that the U.S. is now like Nazi Germany, with society hypnotized to believe in vaccines and extreme pandemic measures.
Wow, that is really summed up on purpose in the most. That's unbelievable that they.
In the most obnoxious way possible.
They really gave him the Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes, that's right. Treatment.
Yeah.
He's a regular Tucker Carlson, this doctor scientist.
Yeah.
During the 3-hour and 6-minute interview on the now viral episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Malone claimed to be part of a team that invented the mRNA technology used in COVID-19 vaccines. You can check that claim. Why do you got to? Again, they all pretend like they just heard of him 5 seconds ago and nobody knows yet. He claims.
Just because he was part of that team.
He claims just because he happens to be part of that team and has the patents. He also talked about vaccine mandates and said there were similarities between Americans' current state in the pandemic and Nazi Germany. Similar to Germany in the 20s and 30s, the doctor alleged on the podcast posted on New Year's Eve that American society is experiencing a mass formation psychosis. And you definitely got to censor that. Does you really think that's going to get rid of his message? It's just going to heighten it. Hopefully, it's going to have the Streisand effect. And now people knows Twitter's on the take. And Twitter's a big,
I love the charge of like, this is like that, who is that MMA chick that got fired because they tried to make her things, which is like, hey, don't act like Nazis. Like, you're trivializing Nazi. The same people that'll cry Nazi every 5 seconds will use this to make him look like he was trying to, trivialize the Nazi crimes by comparing it to now. That's so far off of
They're trying to make him seem like he's saying that if you want people to take vaccines, you're a Nazi, and that's not what he's saying. They're trying to make him say like, oh, he's calling the vaccine rollout like you're a Nazi if you want people to get vaccines. That's not what he's saying.
That mass formation psychosis, he had 4 points that were very interesting.
Yes,
it's not just something pulled out of an ass.
That's right. We'll cover that, the mass formation psychosis. So there's, I guess, so some people were saying he got yanked when he was posting. I don't know exactly what the tweet was. Nobody's telling me has Twitter told us what the offending tweets were, what he said? If they have, I haven't heard from them. It's not in any of these stories. I'm reading about it. So I would love to know what the offend. Some people said the tweet was when there's going to be a march on Washington over the mandates, and I guess it's at the end of January.
January 23rd.
January 23rd. They said that's when he got yanked. That's why. I don't know if that's why, but we'll see. Okay, so there you go. You got your censorship. The Young Turks and the David Doles and the Human. They must all be creaming in their pants over the fact that they censored another scientist in favor of the establishment. That's how it should work. Hey, come see a live Jimmy Dore show. We're in Los Angeles, January 7th and 14th. Then we're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Philadelphia. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets and become a premium member to get access to all our premium videos.